My name is Kennedy Ng, and I am very happy to present to you tonight the Dream City, Union City, New Jersey, which will be an option for the community to know the good things that happen in this beautiful city.
The city of Union City, a cosmopolitan city where almost all of us have seen each other. We are like a large family that through the management of our representatives, they help our citizens. And our people do volunteer work because they know that the city is run by a mayor who has shown that he is not the common politician, but that he works for his community. This program is an extension of information where we are going to have participation of personalities from the public and private sectors so that they can keep us informed of the community. May that be educational activities and everything that benefits us.
Good evening, Union City, the Dream City. As every Sunday at 7 p.m. we have a very special guest. But tonight we have a very special one that brings a lot of information, educational information, community information, and a lot of details about the police department. Tonight we have Captain Walter Laurencio, and I guess I'm pronouncing your name in the right way.
That's correct.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Formally. And it is a pleasure to have some member of the Union City Police Department to educate Union City and the Dream City. And tonight we have a lot of questions, and one of them will be a special that I'm going to let you know about it.
Sure.
But just to start the program, can you tell the community about yourself and the experience that you have had in the Union City Police Department?
So first of all, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. On behalf of the police department and new Chief Ficini, it's very important for us to have this relationship with our community. I know you do good work with your channel on
Thank
YouTube, and you have a lot of followers. So this is just another example of how we can reach our community and beyond.
When did you start your career in Union City?
So I was hired in December of 1999. At that time, I was already in the police academy. I had previously been hired by the Hudson County Sheriffs. So I was already going into police training in the academy when I was hired by Union City. So I just kind of moved over in the academy while I was in there.
Can you tell me the requirements to be a police officer in Union City and maybe the state of New Jersey?
So if we're talking across the United States, there's different requirements, based on different states. Sometimes even different towns and cities have specific requirements for being employed by a police department. In Union City, we follow the Civil Service Commission. The Civil Service Commission is a state agency that basically runs testing and hiring in a standardized form. So municipalities that are members of the Civil Service Commission or follow civil service rules have the same requirements. So as far as education, I believe the minimum requirement is a GED from high school, but some other towns, like I said, they have other...
And you have to be a citizen of the United States.
Right, you have to be a citizen. So there's certain guidelines. You have to be a citizen. You have to have a GED. You have to have a New Jersey driver's license. And there's a few other requirements to be able to be hired.
Good to know. Tell me your duties in Union City.
So currently, I'm a police captain. I'm assigned to the patrol division. So the patrol division encompasses 3 different shifts. The day shift, which is from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The night shift, which is from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. And the morning shift is 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. So I'm responsible for basically, the field operations of, the uniformed officers that you see from the day shift and the night shift.
So your duties will be almost the same every day, or they assign you different part of the city?
So I'm not assigned to a post specifically. My duties as a police captain, overseeing the patrol division during the day and the night. I don't have any boundaries as far as, within Union City. I have to make sure that, our operations are always staffed and manned with our officers. We cover certain posts that need to be covered every day. We have a way of covering the city with our assigned manpower. And also, the duties, I know you said, do they change? So some of the things that change is, we always have to keep our ear to the community when there's a problem issue in a specific location. We, part of my job is to, assess that and allocate manpower in those areas.
People ask a lot of questions about, because Union City, the border has like West New York, Weehawken, North Bergen. Something happened pretending in Kennedy Boulevard, right in the middle of the street.
Sure.
The community, sometimes they don't know is North Bergen, was Union City. How that work?
So, well, we know. We get calls a lot of times where something is occurring, like you said, in one of the border streets. And one of the things that we have with our community is, and we say this at the numerous police community meetings that we have throughout the year, is our philosophy is, if you see something, say something. We want you to call us. Sometimes we get calls for things that are not police related. We don't discourage people from calling us. We still want them to call us. So sometimes they'll call us and they'll say there's an accident here, and they'll give us a location and we'll get there. And, like you said, for example, it might be on Kennedy Boulevard, and it might be on the side of Kennedy Boulevard that pertains to North Bergen. We don't have a problem with that. We'll go there, make sure that the scene is safe, first of all, to make sure that, nobody's hurt. If we need to, we'll, render first aid. We'll call for an ambulance. We're not just going to get there and say, oh, not my problem, call North Bergen.
At the end of the day, it's a community, Hudson County community.
Sure.
And we don't want, things happen because we say, no, this is Union City, this is North Bergen.
No, we're not.
That's good to know. The community need to know that.
Sure, we're not going to take out a chalk and draw a line and say,
yes.
So we want to make sure that we get people the help that they need, whether it's on our side of town or on the other side.
Captain Welter, this is something that I was reading in the newspaper. And one of the reasons that you are here today, one of them, is I was reading in the newspaper. Jersey City now is moving to get the ATVs and their bikes off city streets, specifically in Jersey City. What that means?
Sure. So if I saw an article that came out recently in one of the news sites about what you're asking me. So there's certain issues that are happening, and the article pertained to Jersey City, but this is something that's happening throughout the United States. And what it is basically is, groups of people that own these ATV, they're all-terrain vehicles. Sometimes they call them quads. They have
and they're like the motorcycles, the big one, the small one.
So they're made to be driven off-road. They're not for to be driven in regular streets. There are also some dirt bikes that, again, they're not meant to be driven on our streets. So across the country, this is happening. Groups, let's say clubs, there's some gangs that use it. They get together in these packs, and they basically just go out on whatever streets.
They get afraid when they see all these motorcycles, bikes, and especially the people walking in the street when they see hundreds of.
Certainly. So it's understandable because, first of all, you don't see that every day. Second of all, they're not being driven carefully. A lot of times they're being driven dangerously on opposite sides of the streets,
and that's the
between
issue.
Cars. Sure, and like I said, the problem that's occurring, and not just here, but throughout the United States, you can find videos of the things that are occurring across the United States with ATVs and dirt bikes. Is the individuals that are engaging in this behavior do so in the same manner in packs. So it's very difficult for police officers or the police or anyone else to kind of, I don't want to say stop them, but in the manner that they're being driven, there has to be a balance for the police to balance the necessary requirements to stop these all-terrain vehicles and dirt bikes with the balance of keeping public safety in our mind as our first responsibility. We don't want to get into a pursuit and drive our police cars dangerously to catch somebody that might already be.
It's not necessary anyway. Right. And your personal opinion, the issue that Jersey City now is having with those bikes, and you believe that those people belong to Jersey City, or they are coming from different cities and they pass through Jersey City?
So I don't know for a fact specifically. The article that I did read said that the powers that be in Jersey City believe, and I think there was a police officer that was quoted, believes that some of these groups are coming across from Newark, and this is it's not something specific to Jersey City. A lot of again across the nation, these groups in ATVs and dirt bikes, they travel around. So it's not, I'll give you an example.
Not only one city.
Right. It's not, I can give you an example, and I'm going to say it's not that you can walk out into Bergenline Avenue right now and that's where they all live and they all have their motorcycles. They all converge on a specific area and then they go out in these packs. So it's not, it's very difficult to key in on where they are, where they have these motorcycles until you see them in the street.
Because maybe they are coming to say from Elizabeth, they come to Newark and they get bigger. They pass through Jersey City, they got biggest. They go to New York.
Sure.
Now, if Jersey City create a resolution to get them out of a street, in your own opinion, your experience as an officer, do you think that will affect the city of Union City?
It's tough to say. In all honesty, we've had an occasion where, and like I just said, they're the way they operate, you can't nail them down to one location as to where the people that are doing this are from or they live. They come from all over the place. So in Union City, we've had on occasion where they've come through. But again, it was an incident where they went through and they came back more or less in the same direction and they were gone. So that's why it's difficult to kind of, I want to say corral it.
But the issue will be if they cannot go through Jersey City, so they will decide to use Lincoln Tunnel to say. So now we're going to have all those motorcycles, hundreds of them probably, passing through 32nd Street, 29th Street. My personal opinion, that's going to be an issue.
So if they come through here or they're maintaining their presence here, it's certainly an issue, certainly. I will caution this, and just I don't want to give any false hope and say that that there's something that we could specifically do to eradicate it. There's efforts, across, even Jersey City's passing an ordinance that the town will be able to confiscate the motorcycles and the ATVs. So that's a great start. That's certainly something that's necessary.
So a plan will be
Yes.
displayed.
Yes. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's going to provide specific issues to Union City, because I don't know that the people that are doing these are deterred by that.
Okay.
So they have this in New York. In New York, they make it very public. They take the dirt bikes, they take the ATVs, and maybe a month ago they had their mayor with their police chiefs and they had a public press conference where they went over them with a bulldozer.
Okay.
So
Got it.
and I understand why they do that, is to create awareness and let people know that this is what might end up with your ATV if that's what happens. Now, they're still out there. They think they're not going to be caught. So.
Are those bikes legal to be transit in different cities in group?
No. So, in order for you to have a motor vehicle on the street legally in streets, we have street signs, traffic lights. There's regulations through the Motor Vehicle Commission as to what constitutes a legal vehicle, whether it's a motorcycle, a car, a van, a truck. Now we have regulations on e-bikes and scooters that are allowed. That's something else that's kind of on our radar, not just here in Union City, but in other places where, we've seen in the streets, people have these small scooters that they ride on. And the problem that we've been having with that, and again, we've addressed it, we hear our community complaining when people are riding on these in a dangerous manner on Bergenline or other streets. The problem that we've seen is that a lot of these little, let's say, motorcycles or scooters are sold in regular stores. So the example that I always give is you can't walk into Mercedes-Benz with $100,000 and just walk out with a car. You're going to need a license. You need registration.
Requirements.
There's requirements. So the issue that we're seeing is people can actually go to a store, buy one of these, and drive it out of the store.
That's good to know. That's
Right?
part of the problem.
So that's part of the problem, and we're working to address that. We've come up with a plan with Mayor Stack.
Probably if you meet the Department of Union City, meet with Mayor Stack as a senator, could do something through the state.
And that's been discussed. We're working to figure out how we can put that into play. Just because, again, in fairness, there's some people that say, I bought it in a store, they didn't tell me anything, and I can just take it out, which
we cannot blame that.
It's understandable, but again, the issue that we have, and we always have to maintain, our consciousness on public safety and protecting our community. There's also instances where we see people driving on these, mini bikes and scooters, and you'll see them that they're zipping around cars. Sometimes we see 2 people on them. Sometimes we see 3 people on them. That's certainly not legal. Sometimes we see them go through red lights. And I recently, maybe, I'm going to say about a month ago, I was working, and one of our officers had stopped somebody that was on one of these bikes. And, the person was saying, I didn't know I needed a license. I bought it in the store, basically. And based on the officer's observation, he said, you need a license, you need your registration, you need insurance. So the gentleman was saying, I didn't know I needed that. But in addition, the officer also said, you also need a helmet, and you need to stop going through red lights. So the mentality of
safety issue,
right, of course. So the mentality with those particular devices or vehicles is that people think just because I can buy it in the store, there's no regulations.
You can use it just the way you want it. No.
They couldn't be further from the
truth. You got to use common sense anyway.
Sure.
Captain Walter, tell me something now, talking about other topics. I know the police officer have a lot of, equipment, the gun, this, and the radio. Who is in charge to keep those equipment in good shape?
The officers are responsible for keeping their equipment, operational. We have, a formal inspection where every day when we have a new shift that comes on, the supervisors, we call it informally a lineup. So we have our officers there at the same time prior to their shift. Supervisors give them instructions as to, anything that we need to be on the lookout for, or any specific duties that come up on that particular day, any specific duties related to, an officer on a particular post. So when we see our officers at this lineup every shift, we have a visual inspection. The supervisors get to see them, see their uniforms, see that they have their equipment. And I have to say, I have to give credit to our officers and say that, in our community and, in our department, we're very, safety conscious, obviously. That's what we expect from our officers. We require it. So we feel that our officers take care of their equipment. There's certain department issued equipment that the department takes care of, and obviously some of that has a let's say an expiration date. You don't want to keep something that's old for very long. We're a 24-hour operation, so some of the equipment gets.
Are the officers responsible of those equipment? Something happened to because neglect to take care of the radios and the guns. Something happened, you have to pay, or the city provide in case of replacement.
So it depends what equipment it is. As far as anything that's on their duty belt or personally owned equipment, the officer's responsible for. Like I said, officers are very safety conscious, so they know that they have to check.
I don't think that we have that problem here.
Well, but
sometimes could be, but
it needs to be said. Our officers are, very responsible with their equipment as a police department, and part of my duties as well is to make sure that the equipment that we put out for our officers to use is also in good working order. So, as I'll give you an example, we have officers that carry a CED, a conducted energy device. It's called, we call it a taser. So officers that are assigned tasers, every day they'll come in and they fill out a log that they're taking the taser, and there's a process where they have to turn it on and test it and make sure that it's in good working order before we go out on the field. Another example is our body worn cameras that all our officers have. Part of the our policy and procedure is to do a systems check before you go out on the road, because you want to make sure that you're in full working order before you
have to
something
be accurate,
happens.
yeah.
Exactly. So
As an officer, and probably I'm talking about Union City, but statewide, every year do you receive any evaluation, like psychological, physical evaluation as an officer?
So no, we have. So as far as evaluations within the department, we have. We're a certified department, and that's a long process of standards that a police department has to have. So we achieved accreditation, I believe it was in 2017 or 18. That's something that's been continued with the chief, starting with Chief Molinari and now with Chief Ficini, and Chief Luster before Chief Ficini. Our accreditation standards are very important to us. We have somebody that's assigned to always monitor our policies and procedures to make sure that we're compliant with our accreditation standards. We make sure that we don't just meet minimum standards. We want to make sure that we hold the highest standards. So
and I'm very sure, I'm sorry to interrupt you, that you as a captain, you have a lot of officers to watch out. If you see something wrong, behavior problems, you always on top of that, because you don't want the problem to grow up.
Of course. So part of our accreditation standards is we have to perform performance evaluations of all officers every year, which we do. That's more so performance based. If you're saying, or if you're trying to say if there's an officer that's having a problem, or let's say behavioral problem, or a problem at work, there's mechanisms in place also to kind of get to the root of that.
To follow up on that, yes.
Whether somebody's having an issue, a disciplinary issue, there's procedures for that. If somebody's having an issue, a personal issue or an issue outside of work where it might be affecting their work, and to be honest with you, in the environment,
we are human.
We're human, sure. So more importantly, in the job that we're responsible for, it's important for the public to know. Our officers are in high stress. They go into many critical situations. There's a study that says that the typical person, a civilian, goes through a certain number of critical events in their life. It could be a few. We have officers, when they go to calls for service, that are in critical situations 2 or 3 times a night. It might be, it might seem, and over a long career, that kind of thing accumulates. So we're in tune to that. There's a resiliency program that we have. We have different other programs, counseling programs, not through the police department. We also have it through the police department. So we make sure we make it a policy, and we put it out to all officers. If you need help, if you think that somebody needs help, if you need somebody to talk to.
That's good to know, because the community see things and they want to make sure that the people that are protecting the community are in good shape. Let me tell you this, because we all watch the news, TV, nationally, internationally. The community always asks, police is abusing the community on this because they have the power. Your own opinion. What is police abuse of power? So people can understand what is it. Sure.
So, and again, this is my opinion. When you hear, or when I hear police abuse of power, what I like to say, and I say this to my my family, my friends that are not police officers. Please be mindful of what you hear or stories that you hear. There's always more to stories that you hear, right? And a lot of times the stories that you hear are being framed by somebody who might not be in the know. So there's policies and procedures that our officers have to follow. And I'm just talking generally when you hear stories about police officers, it would be silly for me to say there's no police abuse of power throughout the United States. There certainly is. However, there's times when you'll hear a story that somebody tells you, or it's framed in a certain way, and when the full story comes out, or when there's an investigation, there's more details that come into play that maybe the general public is not privy to. So the state of New Jersey has done a good job as far as calling for transparency in investigations, in order, and obviously they do that to help communities understand what happened at a critical incident. A lot of times we might see something and it's maybe a 30-second snippet or story on the news, and it'll tell you this happened. And if you're the consumer of the news, you're gonna sit there and
rumors are spread out, and then
right.
and people understand it the way they want it.
So it's basically being given to you. This is what happened, but you may or may not know, and there might be other things that come
and
out.
I understand a report have to be done.
Sure.
Who supervises those reports that the officer write?
So officers that they'll go to a call for service for whatever it could be. It could be something where we're assisting somebody, or a service-based call, or it could be something where we're investigating a crime or something's happening in front of the officer. So our officers complete their incident reports, and they're responsible for making sure that the report is accurate.
Report.
That it's accurate, it's truthful, and we tell our officers, we don't want you writing,
because the people
on emotion.
Because the people impacted for those report, they're gonna get a copy.
Sure.
They have to be accurate.
Sure.
Anyway, as a captain, do you report to the chief police? I mean, like.
Yes. So the table of organization in the police department, has the chief as the chief executive of the department, and captains beneath the chief. Beneath the captains are the lieutenants, sergeants, police officers,
by
detectives.
category.
Right. So it's a rank system. Based on our rank system, the captains, our command staff, reports to the chief.
Talking about that,
Sure.
As workers, as part of the staff in this administration, anywhere you go, you take vacations, you could be sick, pretending that the chief police is on vacation or got sick. Anything can happen, God forbid. As a captain, are you responsible to take his or her responsibility?
So on the occasion where the chief is not available for an extended period of time, luckily there's very few and far between where our chief of police will be inaccessible. Then the chief of police would assign his duties to somebody as the acting chief while he or she's not available.
Good to know. Captains Walter, do you have anything that maybe we didn't cover during our conversation or interview that you can tell the community, Union City, the Dream City?
Something that I could tell that we didn't cover. There's a lot. I talk a lot.
No, that's
so,
good. That's good. That's why we're here.
No.
Very informative.
No, I can't think of anything in particular, other than to say, thank you for having me as a representative of the police department. We take pride in having a great relationship with our community, and I'm glad to be of service, and I appreciate you having me.
Very good. Has been very informative for the city of Union City, especially for this program, the Dream City. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come, to spend some time with our program, which is every Sunday at 7 p.m. Union City, New Jersey. I really appreciate it, okay?
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Likewise.
My name is Kennedy NG.